Hi everyone, I am B. Shobharani from the Department of Biology, Vidhyaashram PU College, Mysore. Dear students, in my last sessions, we learnt about a very important chapter 1 of your syllabus called Reproduction in Organisms. So in my today's session 1, I'll be dealing with the chapter 3 of your syllabus called Human Reproduction. But do you all remember I told you all that the concepts what you learn in the first chapter, that is reproduction in organism, is going to help you out to understand this chapter called human reproduction. As I go on teaching, you will understand how important those concepts were. As we are aware that humans are sexually reproducing viviparous animals. Sexually reproducing viviparous animals. As we learnt in the last session, viviparous animals are those animals which give birth to young ones directly. So humans are viviparous, sexually reproducing, not asexual, sexually reproducing organisms, and dimorphic individuals. What do you mean by dimorphic individuals? We differentiate the male from the female. There are distinct differences between the male individual and the female individual. So humans are viviparous, sexually reproducing, and dimorphic individuals. But we must understand that the human reproduction is not a very simple process. It involves various events, and all these events are going to take place after attaining puberty. Now let us study the events of sexual reproduction. So what are the important events or the happenings that need to take place during the process of sexual reproduction? First, very important is one by one. Let us study one by one. First one is called gametogenesis. Second one is called insemination. Third event is called fertilization, and followed by the formation of blastocyst. Then comes implantation, then comes gestation, then comes parturation. So what are the events of sexual reproduction? The first event is what? Very important is gametogenesis. What is gametogenesis? Gametogenesis you have studied in chapter 1. That is, gametogenesis is nothing but the process of formation of the gametes, male gamete and the female gamete. Here the process of formation of male gamete called sperm, and the process of formation of female gamete, ova, is called gametogenesis. So first very important event in sexual reproduction is what? Formation of gametes, that is the male gamete and the female gamete. Next, very important is insemination. What is insemination? You have studied in chapter 1. Transfer of gametes is very important, gamete transfer. So here, insemination is nothing but the transfer of the male gamete, that is the sperm, into the female genital tract. So what is insemination? Transfer of male gametes into the female genital tract is called insemination. So there is first event is gametogenesis, second event is insemination. Then third very important event is what? Fertilization. What is fertilization? So once the male and the female gametes come together, they fuse. Fusion of the male and the female gamete leading to the formation of zygote. As you know, zygote is a diploid but single cell. It is a diploid but a single cell. Hope you all remember. We all of us have started our life with a single cell. Later on we have become multicellular, right? So this formation of zygote is very, very important. So after gametogenesis, next event is insemination, next is fertilization. And after the formation of the zygote, as I said, zygote is a single cell which will undergo a series of mitotic cell division to become a multicellular embryo, right? So it will undergo stages, division stages like cleavage, then morula, then blastula, right? So once it forms the blastocyst stage, then it is going to get attached to the wall of the uterus. So after the formation of the zygote is what? After the formation of zygote is formation of blastocyst. Then after the formation of blastocyst, the very important event has to take place, that is called implantation. What is implantation otherwise called? It is also called as pregnancy. The normal word which we use in our daily life. We don't use the word called implantation, we use the word called pregnancy. the woman has become pregnant. That means attachment of the blastocyst to the wall of the uterus. Thereon the process of development of the embryo will take place, and that will take place in the uterus. So once the blastocyst is attached to the uterine wall of the uterus, that is the endometrium wall of the uterus, then the development will take place. So what do you call that development? So that development is otherwise called gestation period. It is called pregnancy period. As I said, you can also use a word called pregnancy period. So gestation is nothing but what? Pregnancy, right? Pregnancy, and the pregnancy is nothing but what? Development of the embryo. And gestation period varies from an organism to organism. It is not the same duration in all the organisms. For example, in human beings it is around 9 months 1 week, right? Then next comes very important is parturition. So once the embryo is completely developed, now it is ready to come out from the mother's womb, as I said, from the uterus, and that very important event, that is the delivery of the baby, is called parturition. So what is parturition? Parturition is nothing but the delivery of the baby, right? Now what are the very important events, children? So as I said, human beings are sexually reproducing viviparous dimorphic individuals. And what are the events that take place in the sexual reproduction, as it varies from the male and the female? So the first very important event is what? Gametogenesis. What is gametogenesis? Formation of gametes. Next comes what? Insemination. What is insemination? Transfer of male gametes into the female genital tract. The next event is what? Fertilization. What is fertilization? So once the gametes come closer together, then a very important event need to take place, and that is called fertilization. Fusion of the male and the female gametes, and leading to what? Zygote. As I said, zygote is a diploid cell, but it is a single cell, right? And which undergoes a series of mitotic cell division to form what? Blastocyst. Then next very important event is implantation. What is implantation, otherwise called pregnancy? What actually it is? It is nothing but the attachment of the blastocyst to the endometrium wall of the uterus, right? And that event is called implantation. And gestation. So once the blastocyst is attached to the endometrium wall of the uterus, it starts developing. So embryonic development is called gestation. As I said, gestation is also called as what? Pregnancy. And the pregnancy period is called gestation period, which is not the same in all the organisms. It varies from an organism to organism. Next very important event is what? Parturition. What is parturition? So once the embryo is completely developed, now the delivery of the baby has to take place, and that is called parturition, that is delivery of the baby. So these are the very important events. But the events of sexual reproduction differs in male with that of a female, right? For example, the formation of sperms takes place even in the old men, but in case of women, the formation of ova ceases as soon as the woman attains an age of 50 years. See what a difference you find between the male and the female. Now moving on, now let us study about the male reproductive system and the female reproductive system, how it differs. As I said, the events of sexual reproduction differs in a male with that of a female. Now let us study about the male reproductive system. So this is the diagram you can see here. These are the parts of the male reproductive system, that is seminal vesicle, prostate gland, vas deferens, testicles, epididymis, urethra, penis, and urinary bladder. So these are all the different parts of the male reproductive system. Now let us study in detail about the male reproductive system. Where actually is the male reproductive system situated? It is situated in the pelvic region. So the male reproductive system is situated in the pelvic region. Now what are the important parts of male reproductive system then? The male reproductive system includes a pair of testes, and we call this testes as a very important sex organ, that is the primary male sex organ. Along with a pair of testes, the other organs we call it as accessory organs which help the male reproductive system or the male reproduction. So what are they? They are nothing but called as accessory ducts, accessory glands and external genitalia. So what are all the? A pair of testes along with what? Accessory ducts, accessory glands and external genitalia. All these are the very important parts of male reproductive system. Now let us see where actually the testis is situated. Testis is situated outside the abdominal cavity. Hence we use a word called extra-abdominal. The whole reproductive system is situated in the pelvic region, but a pair of testes is situated outside the abdominal cavity within a pouch called scrotum. So this is a scrotum. And what is a very important function of scrotum then? This scrotum helps to maintain the low temperature of the testes. Why it has to maintain the low temperature? What is the temperature that is maintained? 2 to 2.5 degree centigrade, lower than the normal internal temperature, right? And which is necessary for what? For spermatogenesis. What is spermatogenesis? It is nothing but the process of formation of the male gamete, that is the sperm, in the seminiferous tubule of the testis is called spermatogenesis. So what is spermatogenesis? Spermatogenesis is nothing but the process of formation of the male gamete called sperm in the seminiferous tubules of the testis is called spermatogenesis. To help this very important process called spermatogenesis, the testis is located in the scrotum, extra-abdominally, right? And what is the temperature it maintains? 2 to 2.5 degree centigrade. And this is very much important for what? It is lower than the normal temperature, which is going to facilitate what? Spermatogenesis. Now in adults, each testis is oval in shape. Here you can see the shape of the testis is oval in shape with a length of about 4 to 5 centimeter. What is the length of each testis? It is around 4 to 5 centimeter and a width of 2 to 3 centimeter. So length is 4 to 5 centimeter and the diameter is, that width is about 2 to 3 centimeter. Once again I repeat, in adults each testis is oval in shape with a length of about 4 to 5 centimeter and a width of about 2 to 3 centimeter. To repeat, what are the important parts of male reproductive system? A pair of testes, then accessory ducts, accessory glands and external genitalia. And where are the testes situated? It is situated outside the abdominal cavity. Hence we use the word called what? Extra-abdominal. Where? Within a pouch called, what do you call that pouch as? Scrotum. And what is the scrotum helping? It is helping in maintaining the lower temperature of the testis. What is the temperature? 2 to 2.5 degree centigrade, which is lower than the normal internal temperature, which is very much necessary for what? Spermatogenesis. It is a very important event in the male, that is the process of formation of the male gamete called sperm from the seminiferous tubules of the testis is called spermatogenesis. Formation of sperm is called spermatogenesis. And in adults, each testis is oval in shape with a length of about 4 to 5 centimeter and a width of about 2 to 3 centimeter. And each testis contains, each testis contains 250 compartments. So each testis is made up of around 250 individual compartments. What do you call those compartments as? They are called as testicular lobules. They are called as testicular lobules. And each testicular lobule contains 1 to 3 highly coiled structures called seminiferous tubules, right? It is in the seminiferous tubules that the sperms are produced. So each testis contains what? Around 250 compartments. What do you call those compartments as? Testicular lobules. And each testicular lobule is lined by 1 to 3 highly coiled structure called seminiferous tubule. And do you all remember I told spermatogenesis is what? The process of formation of sperm in the seminiferous tubule of the testes, and in which the sperms are produced. So this is about the male reproductive system. Now, as this is the structure of a seminiferous tubule. See, here you can see the Sertoli cells, spermatozoa, spermogonia, interstitial cells, right? Now let us see one by one. As I said, Each testicular lobule is lined by 1 to 3 highly coiled structures called seminiferous tubule, and the wall of each seminiferous tubule is lined by 2 types of cells. I repeat, the wall of each seminiferous tubule is lined by 2 types of cells. What are those 2 types of very important point to be noted, children? So what are the 2 types of cells? One is called the male germ cell, or we call it a sperm mother cell, and the other one called Sertoli cells. So one is, and the germ mother cell is also called, male germ cell is also called spermatogonia. Here you can see spermatogonia. So what are the 2 very important type of cells that you come across in the wall of seminiferous tubule? One is called the male germ cell. What is the other name for male germ cell? Spermatogonia. And what is the other cell? Sertoli cells. Now what is the function of this? It is this male germ cell which is going to produce the sperm. That is, they undergo meiotic division leading to sperm formation. So male germ cells, which is otherwise called spermatogonia, help in the formation of sperm. Then what is the function of Sertoli cells then? The very important function of Sertoli cells is they provide nutrition, necessary requirements. For whom? For the germ cells. During what? During spermatogenesis. So what is the role played by male germ cells? To produce sperm. Then what is the function of Sertoli cells? To produce or to provide nutrition. To whom? To the germ cells during spermatogenesis. As I said, spermatogenesis is a very, very important event. So the wall of each seminiferous tubule is lined by 2 types of cells, namely the male germ cell and the Sertoli cells. Here you can see the Sertoli cells. Here you can see the spermatogonia. Spermatozoa. After the process of spermatogenesis, spermatozoa is formed, which is later on converted into or transformed into sperms. Right? You can see the interstitial cells. Interstitial cell is also a very important concept to be noted. Now let us see what is interstitial cells. So the region between the adjacent seminiferous tubule is called interstitial space. So in between, like in the previous, here you can see this is called interstitial. This is called interstitial space, where you can see the interstitial cells. So the regions between adjacent seminiferous tubule is called interstitial space, which contains small blood vessels and interstitial cells. What is the other name for interstitial cells? Very important, Leydig cells. This is a question which is asked in the examination. What are Leydig cells? What are Leydig cells? They are nothing but the cells that are found in between the interstitial spaces, which contain small blood vessels, and these interstitial cells are nothing but called what? Leydig cells. Very important point to be noted. Why it is so very important? Because it is this Leydig cell which synthesize and secrete a very, very important male hormone called androgens. So what is a male hormone? If they ask, it is nothing but androgen. What is the other name for it? Testosterone, or it is otherwise called male sex hormone. Why it is so very important? It is very important for the male to particularly for the formation of secondary sexual male characters, right? So androgen is nothing but the male hormone, right? So where are they formed? They are formed in the interstitial space. What are they otherwise called? Interstitial cells. What is the role played by the Leydig cells or interstitial cells? To synthesize and secrete a very important hormone called testicular hormone, or which is otherwise called androgen. What is the other name for androgen? Testosterone, or it is otherwise called male sex hormone, right? Now, as I said, the accessory ducts and the accessory glands also help the male reproductive system or male reproduction. Now, what are the accessory ducts? The accessory ducts, here you can see in the diagram, vas deferens urethra. Then you can see the testicle, you can see scrotum. As I said, the testes are located in the scrotum, and it maintains a lower temperature than the internal body temperature to help what? To help spermatogenesis. You can see epididymis, you can see the prostate, then rectum, seminal vesicle, anus and urinary bladder, right? All these are what are the accessory ducts? The accessory ducts include rete testis, vasa efferentia, epididymis and vas deferens. Maybe they'll ask in exam, name the accessory ducts of the male reproductive system. So what are the accessory ducts? The very word itself will tell you. Ducts means what? All these help in what? Carrying on the secretions. Ducts means pipe-like structures, right? So what are the accessory ducts? Which include rete testis, vasa efferentia, epididymis and vas deferens, which carry the sperm. Moving on to the accessory glands. Very important. The secretions of these glands it is called seminal plasma. So the secretions of these accessory glands is called seminal plasma. Seminal plasma along with sperm is called semen, which I am going to explain in the next slide, right? So the accessory glands. What are the accessory glands then? The paired seminal vesicle. Then if you move on to the next, this one, that is paired seminal vesicle, a prostate and a paired bulbourethral glands. Bulbourethral glands are also called as Cowper's glands. So what is the other name for bulbourethral gland? Cowper's glands. So name the accessory ducts. The accessory ducts include what? Rete testis, vasa efferentia, epididymis and vas deferens. What are the accessory glands? Name the accessory glands if they ask. It is a pair of seminal vesicle, a prostate gland and a paired bulbourethral gland, right? And very important is the external genitalia of the male called penis. So penis is the male external genitalia. So I think in this slide you have studied about the androgen and you have studied about the accessory ducts, namely the rete testis, vasa efferentia, epididymis and vas deferens, and the accessory glands like seminal vesicles. Then you have studied about a prostate gland and a paired bulbourethral gland, and about penis. Penis is nothing but the external genitalia of the male, right? I remember I told you about semen. What is semen then? The seminal plasma with sperm is called semen. What is seminal plasma? The secretions of the accessory glands like the seminal vesicle, prostate and the bulbourethral gland is called seminal plasma. And the seminal plasma along with sperm is called as semen, which carries the sperms. And what is the nature of this semen then? The nature of semen is it is slightly alkaline fluid and it contains what? Sperms. And the reproductive accessory gland secretions that is produced by the male during copulation or during intercourse. So what is semen? Semen is nothing but a slightly alkaline fluid with a pH of 7.2 to 7.6 containing sperms as well as the male reproductive accessory secretions, right? And as I said, the seminal plasma along with the sperms constitutes what? Semen. Right, hope you have understood what is semen. Again, this is also asked in exam. What is the composition of semen? Now, summarizing the whole male reproductive system once again, as I said, the testes. What is the main function of testes? To produce the sperms. And also what? Male sex hormone. Name the male sex hormone. It is nothing but the androgen. Then epididymis. What is the function of epididymis? To store the sperms until they are mature. So only when the matured sperm comes in contact with a mature ova, then only the fertilization can take place. Then Sertoli cells. Already we discussed about the germ cells and the Sertoli cells. What is the function of Sertoli cells then? They provide nutrition to the germ cells. Then Leydig cells. As I said, Leydig cells produce what? Leydig cells are nothing but interstitial cells. What do they synthesize and secrete? A very important hormone called androgen, which is otherwise called testosterone. And I told you what role it has to play. It is responsible for the formation of male secondary sexual characters, right, after they attain puberty. Then seminal vesicle secretes fructose, calcium and certain enzymes. Then the prostate gland. What is the function of prostate gland then? Prostate gland secretes alkaline fluid. What is the function of this fluid then? It will help the sperm to overcome the harsh vaginal acids. So when the sperm is passing through the vaginal tract of the female, it may come across some harsh acids and it has to survive. So in order to protect itself. So this prostate gland produces an alkali fluid which will help the sperm to overcome the harsh vaginal acids. Then bulbourethral gland, as I said, what is it otherwise called? Cowper's gland. What is the function of this bulbourethral gland? Their secretions helps in the lubrication of the penis during intercourse or during copulation. Right. Now, as I said, what are when we summarize, testes, they produce the sperms and they produce what? Male sex hormones. Scrotum helps in maintaining the low temperature of the testis for spermatogenesis. Right. Then testes, as I said, they produce the sperms and male sex hormone. Epididymis stores the sperm until they mature. Sertoli cells provide nutrition to the germ cells. Leydig cells, what is the other name for Leydig cells? It is otherwise called what? Interstitial cells, which is produced in the interstitial spaces of the seminiferous tubules. And what is the function of Leydig cells? To produce or secrete what? Androgen. Then seminal vesicle glands secrete what? Fructose, calcium and certain enzymes. Prostate gland secretes an alkaline fluid, and this fluid will help what? Protect the sperm from the harsh vaginal acids. Then bulbourethral gland, what is the function of this? Their secretion helps in the lubrication of the penis during copulation or during intercourse. Right. Now, so far we studied about the male reproductive system, and now let us study about the female reproductive system. What are the important parts of the female reproductive system? So here in the diagram you can see. So this is a pair of ovary which produces the ova, and here you can see the finger-like projections called fimbriae. And I remember I told you what is implantation? Endometrium wall. The inner wall of the uterus is called endometrium, and you can see this tubular structure which is called fallopian tube, or it is otherwise called oviduct. The other name for fallopian tube is oviduct, and you can see the uterus, and here you can see the cervix and the vagina, and this finger-like projection is called what? Fimbriae. Right. Now, the human female reproductive system consists of what? A pair of ovaries. Here you can see a pair of ovaries. Then accessory duct. What is that accessory duct otherwise called? Oviduct. Here you can see a pair of oviduct. Then external genitalia, that is vagina. Right. And mammary glands. I'll explain this in the coming slide as to what role this mammary glands to have to play and how it helps the female in the reproduction. Then, as I said, ovaries, these are the two female primary sex organs. Their testes was the male primary sex organ. Here the ovaries are the two very important female primary sex organs. Where are they located? Here you can see the location of the two ovaries here. Where are they located? So the ovaries are located one on each side of the lower abdomen. So a pair of ovaries constitute the primary sex organs in the female, and the ovaries are located one on each side of the lower abdomen, and each ovary measures what? 2 to 4 centimeter in length, and it is connected to the pelvic wall by ligaments. Here you can see in the next slide how the ligaments help in holding the uterus. As I said, uterus plays a very important role in the female, which is also called as womb, to hold the developing embryo till it completes the gestation period. So female reproductive system, human female reproductive system consists of a pair of ovaries, accessory ducts, external genitalia, then the mammary glands. Right. Then ovaries, as I said, a pair of ovaries forms the primary sex organ in the female. They are located one on each side of the lower abdomen. Each ovary is 2 to 4 centimeter in length, and it is connected to the pelvic wall of the uterus by ligaments. Right. Hope you have understood what are the very important parts of the female reproductive system. Right. Then moving on to the mammary glands. A pair of mammary glands is integrated structurally and functionally to help the process of ovulation. What is ovulation? Nothing but the process of formation of ova, helps in fertilization, helps in parturition. What is parturition? Childbirth is nothing but parturition, and also child care, very, very important. Once the baby is born, the mother feeds the newborn with the milk, and milk is produced by the mammary glands, a pair of mammary glands. So it is a glandular glandular tissue. Mammary gland is a glandular tissue. Here you can see the ampulla, lactiferous duct, nipple, areola, mammillary duct, mammary alveolus. Here you can see the mammary lobe, then the fat. Here you can see the rib, how the muscles are attached between the ribs, and you can see pectoralis major muscle. This is the how a mammary gland looks. So it is a glandular tissue of each breast and is divided into how many lobes? 15 to 20 mammary lobes. Here you can see it is divided into 15 to 20 mammary lobes containing what? Clusters of cells called alveoli. Here you can see the alveoli. They are very, very important. So what is the role played by alveoli? The cells of alveoli secrete milk which is stored in the cavity, and that cavity, what do you call that cavity otherwise as? Lumen of alveoli. So the glandular tissue of each breast is divided into 15 to 20 mammary lobes containing what? Cluster of cells. What do you call that cluster of cells otherwise as? Alveoli. Right, hope you are following me. The cells of alveoli secrete what? Milk, and which is stored where? In the cavities. And what do you call that cavity as? Lumen of alveoli. Right. Now this alveoli further opens into mammary tubules. You can see the mammary tubules here. Right. The alveoli opens into mammary tubules. Then the tubules of each lobe join to form a mammary duct. As I said, duct is nothing but a pipe-like structure which carries the secretion. Here the secretion is nothing but the milk. Right. The tubules of each lobe join to form a mammary duct, and several mammary ducts join to form a wider ampulla. From the ampulla it goes to the nipple. Right. So wider mammary ampulla is connected to lactiferous duct through which the milk is sucked out. So this is all about the mammary gland. So once again we'll just brief up as to what is the importance of this mammary gland. As I said, a pair of mammary glands is integrated structurally and functionally to help what? To help the female reproductive system in what? In ovulation, in fertilization, in parturition, that is childbirth and childcare. As I said, the newborn is fed by the mother's milk, and that is produced by the mammary glands. And as I said, the mammary gland is a glandular tissue, and each breast is divided into how many? A pair of mammary glands are present, and in each breast is divided into 15 to 20 mammary lobes containing what? Cluster of cells called what? Alveoli. And the cells of alveoli secrete what? Milk, which is stored in the cavity of the alveoli. Next, the alveoli open into mammary tubules, and the tubules of each lobe join to form a mammary duct. Then several mammary ducts join to form a wider mammary ampulla. Here you can see the mammary ampulla, right? So you can see the mammary duct here, mammary alveoli, mammary lobe, right? Next, wider mammary ampulla is connected to lactiferous ducts through which the milk is sucked out. This is a very important diagram which is asked in your PU board examination, children. So you have to learn the diagram, all the diagram, the male reproductive system, the female reproductive system, then the structure of the seminiferous tubule and the structure of mammary gland. All the diagrams in this chapter 3 of your syllabus called human reproduction is very, very important. As you know, biology is nothing but full of diagrams, and it's a bound duty to learn the diagrams because sometimes the diagrams alone are asked for 5 marks questions. So only thing is you need to practice. The more you practice, the thorough you'll be in your diagram. And diagrams are also scoring, children. Hope I remember I told you in my first session that there are certain strategies which you need to implement to score good marks. So one such strategy is nothing but called diagrams. So the better you draw the diagrams, you will get more marks, right? And that too you have to draw label diagrams, very, very important. You draw the diagrams but you fail to label it, then you will not get marks. So unlabeled diagrams carry 0 marks. So make sure that after drawing, write the labelings and bring all the labelings to more or less to one side so that your diagram looks beautiful, right? So moving on to the next part of this chapter called human reproduction, let us summarize. So what are the different parts of female reproductive system? We summarized about the male reproductive system. Now let us summarize what are the important different parts of the female reproductive system. Already here you can see the ovary, right? Then the ovarian ligament which is attached to the uterus wall, then the cervix, then the vagina, and you can see the finger-like projection. This is called fimbriae, which receives the ova which is expelled out by the ovary, right? And this fimbriae here you can see the shoulder-like structure that is called infundibulum. Then you can see this pipe-like structure called fallopian tube, then the uterine fundus, then the uterus. More or less, like if you see, it will be like this, right? So when you just stretch your hand like this, it looks like the female reproductive system, right? Next, and ovary, as I said, produces the female gamete and several steroid hormones. So female, that is the ovarian hormones, includes the progesterone and estrogen, which is very much important for the process of formation of female secondary sexual characters. Then also to maintain parturition or the gestation period also. So next comes the oviduct. So this is a very important point to be noted. It is in this fallopian tube that the fusion of the gametes will take place. The sperm and the ovum will fuse here, and the zygote formation, that is here, the zygote formation will take place in the fallopian tube, which is otherwise called oviduct, right? The next helps in the collection of the ovum after ovulation. What is ovulation? Ovulation is nothing but the process of formation of ova. Then next comes the uterus. As I said, uterus is also called as what? Womb, which has a great role to play in the female. So entire development of the embryo takes place inside the uterus. And next comes the cervix. Cervix is what? Secretes mucus that enhances sperm movement into the uterus so that the sperm moves freely and reaches the fallopian tube where it can fuse with the ova. So cervix produces what? Mucus, sticky like substance that will enhance the sperm movement into uterus. Vagina is nothing but the external female genitalia. It is the copulatory organ, or which is an organ which helps in intercourse, sexual intercourse, and it is also called as birth canal. And already I told about fimbriae. What is fimbriae? Collects the ovum during ovulation, right? So hope I was clear with the concepts of human reproduction. And in my coming session, I'll be dealing with the remaining concepts of this chapter called human reproduction. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.